Duty Free landed on British TV in 1984, becoming an instant hit with up to 18 million viewers a week. It changed the traditional Costa del Sol holiday formula of sun, sea and sangria to sun, sea and sex.
I was an enormous fan of Duty Free. It seemed to reflect so much of what was in our own lives.
Oh, David. What are we going to do?
We must be discreet.
Of course.
Nobody must get hurt. We mustn't do anything to arouse suspicion. Oh.
It's just a holiday romance that never gets further than a few fumbly kisses in the bushes, you know.
Suppose there were 6-foot waves out there and I was in the middle of them being tossed about like a cork, screaming, David, David, save me. What would you do?
How high did you say the waves were?
I got a lot of letters from children saying, my dad likes you. He doesn't know why he's going off with that blonde person. Oh, that's lovely. Now let me see if I've got my light right.
Amy represented the ladies and I represented the blokes, and I think that was its chief success.
I think that bullfighting is barbaric.
Barbaric? Barbaric?
Cruel and vicious.
But I am an artist.
You're not an artist. You're a hitman for Fray Bentos.
I thought it was brilliantly written and one of the best sitcoms of its time.
At the show's heart were stars Keith Barron and Gwen Taylor, playing married couple David and Amy Pearce on their first ever Spanish holiday.
I'd first worked with Gwen at the BBC. Keith I hadn't worked with, but I'd admired for years. He, in fact, at the time, was virtually semi-retired. He'd got a restaurant down in Penzance.
I read it and I thought, I just cannot not do this. And in fact, we closed the restaurant so I could do it. Just bang. The phone still rings, apparently.
Starring in Duty Free was an incredible turning point for me. To establish oneself in a regular comedy show that was incredibly popular.
Duty Free was written by Eric Chappell and Jean Waugh. Chappell's previous hits included Rising Damp and Only When I Laugh, but he'd had the idea for a story set in the Costa del Sol many years earlier.
I wanted to write about a couple in Spain during the late 60s, which is when I first started writing the piece, and their confrontation with a different way of life. I'd never been to Spain. I wrote it by the kids' swimming pool in the back garden. And it could have been Greece.
He took me down to Windsor to see a play called We're Strangers Here, which he'd written some years ago. And I thought, what a good idea that would be for a situation comedy. And when he said, do you want to have a go, we decided that's what we would do together.
Neither of us had great hopes of it, and much to our astonishment, it struck a chord. People were going on holiday for the first time and finding the same culture shock that our couple were getting.
Watch that suitcase, David. If it's left unattended, it'll probably be taken away and exploded by the Federale.
Well, it looks as though it already has been.
I'd been made redundant, and we decided to use part of this money to have this luxury holiday at the San Remo Hotel.
Now smell that. Do you know what that is? That's bougainvillea and sweet honeysuckle. And listen, do you hear that? Those are the cicadas. Thousands of little grasshoppers rubbing their back legs together just for you, David. And we've got a balcony and a view of the sea. Not just any old sea, the Mediterranean Sea. Oh, it's just as we imagined it, David. I think they're quite brave because they get the redundancy money and they think, oh, to hell with it. Let's blow it, because we may never have a chance again.
But there was trouble ahead for the couple as soon as David set eyes on Joanna van Gissegem, a sophisticated English rose Linda Cochrane.
Hello. Linda.
Hello, David. Where's your wife?
Oh, unpacking. Neat little creature. Where's your husband?
Oh, Robert, he's in the bar, trying to recreate Bournemouth.
Perhaps you'd care to join me in a glass of sangria?
I'd love to, David. It's rather nice, isn't it?
Oh, I never drink anything else. When I'm in Spain. Sangria dos, por favor.
He saw a blonde bimbo and was attracted to it sexually. He knew that it was going nowhere, but the chase was what he wanted.
That chase was soon interrupted by Linda's xenophobic husband Robert, played with a stiff upper lip by Neil Stacey.
Having trouble, Linda?
No, Robert, this is David.
Oh, sorry. Thought you were German.
What David has got going for him, as far as Robert is concerned, is his English. I mean, he may talk with a northern accent, but he is English, and all the other people around them are foreigners.
Welcome to Stalag Luft 7. Oh, don't you like the hotel? Too many crowds?
Robert! Poor old Robert. He doesn't pay any attention to her at all and probably hasn't done for years, and she's just cottoned on to this fact.
I think that she wants to be loved and admired, and she looks at David and she sees in his eyes, wow, you're a bit of all right, and that's it.
Yara! Oh, Yara! Thank you.
Amy, to be perfectly honest, is brighter than David, more intelligent than David, on almost every level, but probably doesn't show it at home, because it isn't necessary. And so that when he does these silly things, she's quite sharp to pull him back to reality.
Oh, hurry up, Amy. We want to get a table by the pool. We promised Linda.
Can't we relax for a moment, David? I haven't got over breakfast yet. I've never fought so hard for food in my life.
Yeah, so of course Linda always has her breakfast in her room. It is extra, but Linda says it's worth it.
She was the kind of, I don't like to say dragon of the piece, but yes, she was the dragon of the piece because she would be the pull-downer.
Linda says that she never gets tired of looking at the sea. You know, Linda says that if...
That's 5, David.
5? What?
5 times you've mentioned that woman's name.
That woman? Do you mean Linda?
6.
A lot of her remarks that sound like a party pooper and a sort of a person who's going to spoil the holiday was really bringing him back to earth, bringing him to his senses, keeping him to herself.
This is supposed to be our second honeymoon. There was even light-hearted talk of carrying me across the threshold.
Oh, what, with Marnie?
It didn't seem to worry you much when you were doing the Paso Doble.
Now, it clicked a couple of times, Amy.
More than I have.
They just got to that impasse. David was looking for something to get on to, get his life, to give it a bit of a boost. Amy was fighting to keep that marriage together. My goodness, did she fight.
Back a bit, I think, Linda.
I'm right on the edge, Amy. If I go any further back, I'll be in the water.
That's right. Oh, that's lovely. Now, let me see if I've got my light right.
Linda represents everything that he's never had. He's bound to go for it by hook or by crook.
David felt a failure, and I think I based him on all those people who thought, I didn't quite make it. This isn't what I wanted to do. I'm a failure. They weren't, but they felt they were.
It was his chance to see what was on the other side, which he did. And if it was there, to grasp it.
As Series 1 ended, David's pursuit of Linda came to a climax.
I love you.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
I love pathos within comedy. That moment when she sees them for the first time and the hurt is in her eyes.
You bastard! Don't you realise this is adultery? They used to stone them for this in the Bible.
Yeah, should have liked that, wouldn't you? You should have lived in those days. You'd have been sitting there on the front row with the biggest pile of rocks you could find.
You're absolutely right, you treacherous little sod.
I was always very keen that women should have good comedy roles. And so I think I made sure that the women got some cracking lines.
I happen to find him attractive, and if you'd ever bother to look at him, so would you.
Attractive? Good grief. Not only has she got no tits, her eyesight's defective.
Everybody goes through bad patches. Everybody goes through periods where they think, what am I doing in this relationship? Why don't I just walk out? But actually, there is something to fight for.
Poor David, it can't have been easy living with you. He's right. You should never have married. You've never understood him. He's sensitive, artistic.
Artistic? Well, how's this for artistic?
Even in tragedy, this sort of thing happens. People throw things and miss, and people hit people, and And comedy lurks in every corner.
Good Lord! Now, what do you suppose the Germans are going to make of this?
In part 2, celebrities arrive at the San Remo.
What's your name?
Amy, what's yours?
Oh, come on, you remember me? Emmerdale.
Oh, that's unusual. Is that your first name or your second?
Judith Chalmers is rudely interrupted. And Amy sends David some smoke signals. By Series 2 of Duty Free, David and Amy Pierce have reunited for the second week of their luxury holiday on the Costa del Sol. But David still fancies his chances with the lovely Linda.
Hello, David.
Oh, Linda.
May I watch? I've never seen an expert play before. How much have you won?
Well, nothing. Yet. Actually, I'm studying the wheel. The sequence of winning numbers is proving rather interesting. Once a pattern emerges, I'll be ready to make my move.
I keep my fingers crossed.
I really wanted to slap her. A lot. You just do, don't you? I mean, I wanted to slap her. She was so obviously sort of silly.
Roulette's terribly exciting, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose it is. Although it does tend to lose its excitement once you've played the other kind.
What other kind is there, David?
Russian.
David is an eternal romantic. 1 minute I think he thinks he's James Bond, or he'd like to be James Bond, but then I find that attractive, don't we all?
Keith has a wonderful quality of likeability. So you watch him being absolutely stupid and really rather crass at times, but you always like him through it. And I think that's the importance to the series, really.
Are you nervous?
Amy, I'm a gambler. What makes you think I'm nervous?
You're smoking the filter.
Look, win or lose, it's all the same to me.
Lose? Who said anything about losing? You said you were going to win.
Well, of course I'm going to win.
7 red.
All right, so I've lost. Don't start complaining. It's not my fault. You've never been lucky for me. Why didn't you stay in your room?
David, you've won.
You what? Oh, get them all, Amy.
Duty Free was extraordinary. It was #1 twice in 7 weeks. And I've got a thing at home that Vernon sent me that says, you are #1 twice.
But while the viewers liked it, not all the critics did. The Sunday Times called it tired, jaded and utterly bereft of comedy.
I didn't bother to read most of them. Well, I only read the good ones, you know. People say, you've got a good one in there, so I'd read it, but ignored the rest.
I think critics in television anyway are fairly dubious because they're only criticising something that went out the night before. The audience will make its own mind up.
Those audiences continued to grow, attracted by guest stars like Fraser Hines, better known as Joe Sugden from Emmerdale Farm.
I know you.
Do you?
Yeah, it'll come to me in a moment. It's on the tip of my tongue. What is it?
Well, actually,
No, don't you tell me, because I'm going to tell you. Emmerdale Farm.
My agent rang and said, Vernon Lawrence has been on the phone. He would like you to do an episode of Duty Free. And I said, marvellous, I'll do it. He said, now, he wants you to be yourself.
Now I'm going to tell you your name. Joe Sugden.
No.
No?
It's Fraser Hines.
Are you sure?
Joe Sugden was the character I played. My real name is Fraser Hines.
Well, when people do bump into anyone with any television notoriety, or celebrity, as they're called, it is an inherently comical situation.
Hello.
Hello.
At least it's quieter over here.
Yes.
It's getting a bit hectic over there.
Oh, why?
Fans, autograph hunters, that sort of thing.
Why, has somebody arrived? Somebody famous?
Not exactly.
Oh, it's you.
You recognise me?
Yes, I saw you at breakfast.
I'm not like that on holiday. There was times in the script where I was going, oh, Vernon, do I have to... The glasses. Hi, I'm Fraser Hines.
What's your name?
Amy, what's yours?
Oh, come on, you remember me? Emmerdale.
Oh, that's unusual. Is that your first name or your second?
The television programme.
Oh, you were named after a television programme.
I knew you'd be fun.
Oh, yes, me, I'm a love a minute.
It was rather nice to have somebody fancying me for a change.
I fancy you.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Are you drunk?
Do I have to be drunk to fancy you?
No,
No, but it helps.
We can understand how exciting it was to see who we thought was a star or a celebrity. Oh, look, it's a thing.
She isn't here.
What?
I thought you were looking for Amy.
Well, I am. She didn't get off the bus. I was worried.
Yeah, well, Joe doesn't know where she is either.
Is that right, Fraser?
No, Joe. No, Fraser. No, I haven't seen her.
Fraser Hines wasn't the only one confused by the mixture of fantasy and reality in Duty Free. Viewers were starting to treat Yorkshire Television as a travel agency.
People used to write in and want to book their holiday at the San Remo Hotel. Can I have the third week in July?
People would say, listen, was that room 424? Because I'm sure that was the room we stayed in Marbella. And I'd say, well, no, it wasn't actually. It was Studio 6 at Yorkshire Television.
Duty Free was amongst those most popular programmes, and people really believed that those were the facts. There was that hotel.
Oh, look, there's Judith.
Judith?
Judith Chalmers, the presenter. Oh, wonderful personality.
You said she was an overpaid layabout.
In Series 3, David, Amy, Linda and Robert returned to the San Remo for a winter break and were distracted from their marriage problems by the arrival of TV's Wish You Were Here team.
I was astonished to be asked to appear in Duty Free because those sitcoms and those programmes then were all about actors doing those programmes, not sort of, I suppose I can say in inverted commas, real people acting as themselves.
Most people... Hello, do forgive me, but aren't you the lady on that delightful little programme about holidays? Now, what's it called?
Go Away.
Oh, I thought it was Wish You Were Here.
In the case of Judith Chalmers appearing in our show, it was absolutely believable that she would have come over to the San Remo and done a little bit about it.
Everybody knows they used to interview ordinary couples who were sitting there. So when they saw it actually happening, that was fantastic.
What do you think of the hotel? Are you enjoying your stay here?
Well, I think...
Oh, yes, of course, this isn't, in fact, our first visit. We have been here before, but you could say that it's one of our favourite watering holes on the Med.
And do you find that the lower rates at this time of the year are an attraction?
Well, of course...
It doesn't come into it, really. We usually take a break at this time of year. I don't think we could get through an English winter, without a couple of weeks in the sun. Could we, dear?
No. By gum.
By bringing in real-life characters like Judith Chalmers, we could see how the characters reacted. They wanted to get into the back of the shot. They wanted to talk about their holiday. So it was a week off.
I did such long pieces to camera with all hell breaking loose behind me. I can't believe that I sort of carried on talking like that. But we did have to do that.
Beach tents may be hired for a reasonable 500 pesetas a day.
It was said to be the longest holiday in television history. I don't think that mattered. I think, in a way, it could still be going on now.
I worked it out that it was a 14-day holiday and then it was a week's holiday, and that was fine as far as I was concerned.
What it actually was a suspension of time while people enjoyed these characters and watching what happened to them and how the characters developed.
But the holiday had to end sometime. And by the end of the third and final series, with audiences topping 18 million, David made a final last-ditch attempt to woo Linda at the San Remo's talent show.
They say that falling in love is wonderful. It's wonderful, so they say.
But Amy has other ideas.
David and Amy are at that point in a marriage where it could go either way, and in real life, they may well split up, but I don't think these two would. I think they both need each other too much.
She doesn't want her husband to be a prat. She wants him to be the man she married and the father of her kids. She doesn't want to see him making a bit of a fool of himself.
It's wonderful, wonderful, in every way, so they say.
I ended it in the way I did because I wanted to complete the circle, and that would be that we would finish as we began with the two couples together.
In the final scene of Duty Free, Eric and Jean gave Amy a show-stopping number to win her husband back.
Men cluster to me like moths around the flame. And if their wings burn, I know I'm not to blame.
Eric didn't want to do any more than 3 series. He wanted to do something else. He thought you could quit while you were winning.
David? Should we go for a walk now?
Not just yet.
But it's a lovely night. There's the moon and the stars and the blue Mediterranean.
The what?
The blue Mediterranean.
Sorry, water, Linda. Just excuse me for a moment.
The longest holiday in TV history did make it back to our screens for a Christmas special in 1986, and this time it was shot on location in Spain. But that really was Adios for Duty Free, one of the most popular sitcoms ever broadcast on British television.
People used to shout at me in the street, "You leave that nice man alone! Leave him alone!"
We're like 2 chemicals, harmless apart, but once together we become volatile and explosive.
Well, what are we going to do? We can't explode here.
Taxi drivers used to shout to me after the show had gone out. They used to say, "Did you get your leg over?" I used to say, "No, darling, if I did, there'd be no bleeding show."
And next here on ITV1, you can see for yourself why Duty Free is such a comedy classic with an episode entitled 40 Love.